How do you define the word success? Welcome to the Relive the Moments podcast. I'm John Lim. Hi. Welcome to the Relive the Moments podcast. I'm John Lim, and I'm sitting here with a very special friend of mine, a brother from another mother, and a man I'm very looking forward to interviewing right now. Today's guest brings a unique mix of strategic insight, hustle, and court vision, whether he's closing high-stake real estate deals or dominating a game of basketball. Meet Ben Friedland, a 20-year veteran at CBRE, where he co-leads the firm's alternative investment practice. Ben advises some of the most prominent private equity firms, hedge funds, and venture capital groups on their strategic real estate needs in New York City and around the globe. With 1,000 successful transactions to his name, Ben is known for his creative problem-solving, strong relationships, and relentless commitment to client success. He's a trusted advisor, a connector, a collaborative leader who thrives on navigating complexity and driving results. Outside the office, Ben is a proud husband, a father of three, and he keeps his competitive edge sharp by dominating the basketball court whenever he can. He has the most amazing fadeaway turnaround shot, to his credit.
That's what I'm most proud of.
He lives by a quote that says, "A lot of mindset, be who you are and say what you feel, because those that mind don't matter, and those that matter don't mind." I'm honored to have my friend, my guest, and a brother from another mother. Please meet Ben Friedland.
Thanks so much for having me, John.
It's a pleasure to have you on, man. I'm really excited to talk about this. For those who are watching, Ben and I go way back, from starting on the basketball court is how we met. We might not talk about all the details of that case because he made me sign an NDA, or as a matter of fact, the first owner of the house we signed, we played basketball at, we always had to sign a waiver every time we played.
Every time.
Yeah, which is crazy. One waiver should be enough, I feel, one
Agreed.
time, right? Lifetime waiver.
Agreed.
But it's fascinating how connections, is how you make your living. So before we dive deep into the power of your connections, how do you define the word success?
I saw something the other day that I liked, which said success is excited to go to work and then excited to come home, which I really liked. I was having a conversation with someone else who was saying if you sort of skip the hard work, instead of working hard, you win the lottery, same result. And we were saying, no, it's not the same result, and the best things come through the hard work and the feeling like you've done it. So certainly for me, those are the things that have made me feel best. But I'd also say, coming up on a big birthday, and part of it is, does your definition of success change at different stages of your life? What might have been super important at one point may not be, at the top of the list at another point.
All right, that's pretty fascinating. So let's run through that. Let's go to 20. At 20 years old, what was your definition of success?
Finding any type of job that would have me. I went to SUNY Albany. I was not a good student, pretty disinterested student, and I had no idea. I didn't have any passion for work. I wanted to do well, but there was nothing that spoke to me. I was a communications major, which was sort of the most bland, non-specific major you could have. And then I had two jobs that were also kind of bland. And then I found this one, and immediately I didn't realize that there was a job that was competitive in the way like our basketball competitive juices would flow. And it was like the scoreboard's on the wall and everybody knows how everyone else is doing, and different people have different attributes, and let's go. And right from the start, I'm like, oh, I love this. And that was around 25. And that was the first time I was sort of good at my job in my life because I wasn't a good student in the first two jobs. And it was eye-opening for me.
All right. So you're your young 20s, right? You got a lot of competition and heart pumping through it. Let's go to the 30s. What did success mean in your 30s?
Making babies, healthy babies. Just continuing the career, certainly, but really carving out the type of family that I wanted to have. But I would say of the different decades, 30s was not my favorite. I was working extremely hard. Um, Young kids is just, it's a lot of time. And there's something that says, like, in your 20s you work on your craft, in your 30s you start to have relationships, you're able to leverage some of the craft learning that you've had, and then past that, sort of in your 40s, it's much more relationship. There's others that can do the task, but the most important part, of the part that's harder to replicate, is a long-term shared trusting relationship based on history. So that's what really separates things. And if you're doing your sort of career progression the way that at least this thing was outlined and spoke to me, was that you want to be doing things that are more relationship based as you further your career.
Completely agree. I mean, listen, we're sitting here today because of our relationship.
Yeah.
All right, so I love that, and we'll dive into that a little deeper. But let's wrap these decades up. So, how do you define the word success in your 40s?
I'm just thinking, my 40s, I was out of the city, so I'd say it was finding community, right? So when you're in the city, it's anonymity. You go to a restaurant, you don't know anyone else there, and I wanted to find my people and find a place where my wife and I were comfortable, where we thought it'd be a good place to raise our kids, meet new people who had kids the same age and all of that, and was able to do that in my 40s. And now 50, I was actually talking about this with someone the other day, and you think about up to this life stage, everyone's kind of doing the same thing, where it's, you go to school, you go to college, you get a job, family, but when your youngest kid leaves the house and you're an empty nester, you don't know where it's going to go, right? Someone might move to Florida, some people move back into New York City, some people stay where they are. And as I'm hearing, I'm still a few years away, but as I'm hearing my other friends whose youngest is the same as our oldest, so we're connected, but now they're empty nesters, it's all over the map. So what we're trying to figure out is, what's the optimal work-life balance? How do I want to spend my time moving forward? I kind of have three big buckets: family, work, and basketball. And family, they're going to need me less as we get older. Work, I don't think I'm supposed to work as hard the next 25 as I did the first 25, but I really do love the work. And then basketball, I think it'd be very hard for me to play as much basketball in the next 25 as I did the first 25. So part of it is figuring out how to fill up the time in a way that I think is meaningful.
All right, well, listen, man, we need to cut out the next 25 basketball conversation, okay? Because we might not do 4 days in a row like we used to do in that case, but we have guys playing in our game that are competitive, that are almost 75 years old, 80 years old, matter of fact. And so listen, I understand.
Our heroes.
Our heroes. And as you're moving around the court, moving around that stuff, you want to make sure that whenever you decide to where you go, just make sure I got the keys to the court. Okay, that's all I care about.
Always,
all right?
always.
All right, we can keep playing together.
That's right.
All right, so obviously you were not born successful. Okay, you were born Ben Friedland, okay, this big dreamer, right, as a little infant. When you think about your childhood, okay, and how successful you are today, who in your childhood, who's the one person that you would give credit to that helped shape you as a young person in the young first part of your life, that you would credit to your success today?
Well, I would say, if I had to pick one person, I would pick Allison, who just, she saw something in me early. I think we make a lot more sense now than we made when we met. And I definitely knew, I'm like, oh, I want to secure that, and, wanted to work hard for that. And her believing in me and all that was really...
Allison, your wife.
Allison, my wife.
Yeah.
My wife, everybody.
Yeah.
So,
amazing woman. She's an amazing woman.
Certainly my father worked very hard and taught, ethics classes and all this kind of stuff. That was definitely someone to look up to. I remember he would get home after a long day, and I always wanted to have a catch or something like that. He's like, I'm tired, but I would drag him out there, and then he was happy after he did it. But I really couldn't appreciate that whole thing until I would come home after a day of battling and, doing some kid stuff. So,
all right, so right there, let's stay there, because it's a pretty powerful moment, I think, for all fathers. and all parents for that matter, that we're working parents, right? We have that working side. So your dad, okay, let's relive, I would love to, and I think the audience would love to relive that moment with you. All right, so tell us about your dad.
So he ran a brokerage company of industrial brokers that would work in properties like around this area in Connecticut and in the Bronx, mostly warehouse industrial space. And, you know, if you're running a place with 20 plus brokers, you're managing a lot of people, which is difficult. And he would also be the one who would have to arbitrate disputes. So there might be someone who said, you know, here's all the reasons I'm right. And the other person saying, hey, if you rule against me here, you know, my kids aren't going to be able to go to college, and just really tough things that would take its toll. Something happened with Allison the other day where she was just battling something all day. She works, and she's like, is this what you feel like when you come home? I'm just mentally drained. I'm like, you know, there's a cost to entering the arena. I love the fight, but there's a cost to entering it, and sometimes you're just drained. And I definitely have moments where I think I'm generally regarded as an extrovert, but there's times when I just don't want to speak.
Right. I mean, listen, you're right. There's a cost to get in, and no one gets out unscathed.
Yeah.
Right. But I want to bring it back to your dad, because I think this is an important moment. So let's just, your dad has a really long day. He's not only just managing people, which is extremely difficult, but he's managing people and having to make decisions that affect people's lives, affect if they can, to your point about going to college, or can I feed my kids on the table. Whether it's true or not, the words that come out of someone's mouth to defend themselves, you have to take that seriously. So I can only imagine your dad on a day, going back to this day that I'm thinking about, he's having a long, difficult day. He's coming home to you guys and your mom. I say you guys. How many brothers and sisters do you have?
I'm the middle of 3 boys, and yeah, he would come home, and again, I remember it now through my own. The first thing he would do is go upstairs and change. That's the first thing I do. I say hi, and I just go upstairs to get comfortable, and then he would want to chill out after a combative day, and I'm like, come on. I'm sure I didn't see him at the time, but I'm sure my mom would give him some looks like, you're a dad, go out there and have a catch with your son.
How old are you?
You know, call it around 8.
Okay. Yeah, so you're young and rambunctious.
Yeah, and I needed to be run. In elementary school, I had a meeting with my parents and the principal where we agreed that I would have to run around the perimeter of the school twice every day before school started to just let out some energy. Now, at the time, if I was a kid today, everybody would be saying that, you know, I have attention deficit disorder,
right.
And
Take
put me
some
on
pills.
medication and all that stuff. We obviously didn't have that at the time, and it's interesting. I was told at the time that it was a bad thing. I've actually found that my energy level and battery, which is better than most, is actually one of my better attributes. But there's, you know, people have qualities that are both positive and negative. So and they're the same quality. So on a Saturday night when Allison's, you know, like, can't you just sit still here at this dinner? We're having a nice time. Why are you so antsy? And it's just hard for me. And at the same time, that is the same quality that allows me to do more in a day than most people can. I don't sleep as much as most people do. I get about 5 hours of sleep a night. I keep hearing it's going to catch up with me. But I feel like I'm able to live, you know, 10% more than everybody else.
It's interesting. Yeah, definitely, I'm gonna get you this book, Why We Sleep. Why We Sleep. This doctor, Dr. Matthew something. I think it's Matthew something. I'll get you the book. Changed my life. Like, for example, if you were gonna have surgery, right? Which we're never gonna have surgery, but if someone's gonna have surgery, and you ask the surgeon, like, hey doc, did you have a bottle of wine last night? Right? Of course, surgeon would not have a bottle of wine before that. But if the surgeon only had 4 hours of sleep, he's better off drinking 2 bottles of wine than having 4 hours of sleep, because how it affects you. Like, this book completely changed my life on sleep, because I'm like you, where it's, all right, man, we got to keep going. Yeah. Right? There's no time to stop. I want to take a quick step back, because something you said that I do, that your dad did, where every time I get home, immediately first thing I do is I go upstairs and I change my clothes, right? And I started doing it maybe 15 years ago when I was working 6 days a week, where it was like, okay, I have all of the energy in these clothes of work,
Yeah.
and I couldn't change my mind. I'd be stuck on my BlackBerry, or back in the day we'd call it the Crackberry, and I wouldn't be talking to my kids. My head would be down, just like this, like, okay, no problem. Yep, I see you, I do. Daddy has eyes in the back of his head. But once I changed the clothes, almost like Superman, changed the mentality. And that for me is something that I stuck with. I didn't know I was doing it until I did it. And then even when they jumped on me right when I got home, all right, 1 minute, Daddy's got to get out of these work clothes, like a uniform. And it literally completely changed my being to allow me to be a dad during those times. So
if you're able to do it, that sort of binary flip a switch, I think that's great. That has been a struggle for me when we did live in the city and the commute was only 12 minutes by subway. I was coming home hot, right in it. Now I do have the benefit of, I have a great commute. It's a less than 40-minute train ride, but my office is right above Grand Central Terminal. So my whole commute is comprised of me just getting on the train, chilling out, cleaning out my inbox.
right, get
whatever.
that decompression.
Yeah, so it's great, but it is the benefit is I don't have someone who's ever asking me where you are, what you're doing. But on the other side of that, if certain people call, like I'm picking up the call no matter where I am or what I'm doing. But as I get older now, I don't mind it. My weekends are less busy now. The kids are doing other stuff. If someone wants to talk on a weekend, like I'm happy to do it. Let's go. As long as I'm not in the middle of something, I like feeling of value, and then I can contribute in some way and help someone. So if that's the time they want to do it, then that's when we'll do it.
Listen, I can attest, if you're not on the favorite list of Ben Friedland, where he doesn't answer your call all the time like he does for me, no matter where he is in the world, you want to work hard to get on that list, because it's pretty powerful to have that kind of insight. All right, so now let's fast forward. Okay, so here we are today. Dad was a very strong influence in your life that helped ground you and those moments, not only to be a successful business person, to be a successful father. In your adult life, okay, who is the one person that you would contribute, if you had to contribute all of your success as an adult, right? Not just as a dad or as a husband or as a guy who has an amazing fadeaway shot on the basketball court, but in that business success, to help you close those 1,000 deals, who is the one person that you can say you've leaned on throughout that life?
So I think it's hard to find, in general, I think it's hard for people to find that one mentor who can teach them everything. And I have had the benefit of trying to pick different things. I think for all these things, you sort of pick up different things from different people, and then you can't change who you are at core. So you're incorporating things into who you are that mesh with what you are. So, with you, for example, I would say, after hanging out with you all these years, this guy's always unsatisfied with the status quo. He's always going to. So he's got a great three-point shot. He's got a great drive. But if he gets a mid-range jump shot, he's going to be a lot better. So over the last few years, your mid-range jump shot has gotten much better, right? So I'll see something like that and say, continually improve. Why should I stop improving? A lot of people are saying, hey, what are you doing at your life stage to maintain your health and maintain the quality of your ball? And you're a great example of like maintain. What do you mean maintain? Like, let's do
what's
some
that
new
word
stuff,
mean?
right? So different things. I would say I had the real benefit of there's a woman called Marianne Ty, who's really, I call her the LeBron of real estate, because she's been in her prime for like 30 years. She's been a top 3 broker in the city. And I met her early on, and when you see someone in your field accomplished to that level, it makes it seem much more plausible. It opens up the aperture on what you think is possible. So being around her, it's not that she was a day-to-day mentor. I'd call her more like a rabbi, like from afar.
Okay.
I'd tell her what's going on, and she would provide guidance that I found super helpful.
All right, so right now I'd love to relive a moment with you and her that is in your brain that you feel very strong about. Like what is one of the most influential moments you've had with her?
I would say I've seen her tell people things that they don't want to hear but need to hear very directly. And so again, I'm looking at a master of the craft and someone who people really trust and rely on. And you'd say, are you sure that someone who's great with relationships is giving people some really straight talk on something that they think that they're handling the wrong way, messing up, totally botched, whatever it is. And over the years watching her do that with people, I've learned that, the closer you are to someone, the more that they want to hear the criticism and how to improve from people that they're close to and that they trust.
So you would say a strong takeaway you took from her, because your business is about relationships, your world's about relationships, and the fear of losing a relationship, I'm sure must have been strong, especially in your 20s and 30s.
Yeah.
And you took from her that, hey, you can be frank and stern, empathetically honest. I hate brutally honest. Empathetically honest with the person.
I like that.
And really help them without sacrificing the relationship.
And improve the relationship. You get closer by sort of pulling back the curtain and saying, I see you, and I see who you are and what you're doing and why you're doing it. And as your friend, here's why I think you would have a better outcome if you did it another way. And it takes you have to phrase it all well and do it all well. But I think it starts with, if they know that you genuinely care, then they'll listen, and those are great moments.
I think that's something that, listen, I got goosebumps. You can't even see it here, because I'm big on communication. And you said something that I think is extremely powerful for people to understand. It's one, framing, right? Because if you frame it correctly, I see you. Okay. Now you're disarming me because you see me, you care about me, right? And now you're not talking at me, you're talking to me, and we're having a conversation, which allows me to receive the words you're saying. That's why I love empathetically honest versus brutally honest.
Yeah.
Right? Because I'm coming from a place of empathy.
Yeah.
Right? I'm here to help you in any which way that I can. Right? It might not feel that way at the end of the conversation, or during the conversation, but at the end, you're going to feel the love that I have for you. And I think many people, we have something we want to say, so we say it, but framing it is super important. I do it with my kids where they're upset about something, they were wrong. Anybody in my life, even if they're upset about something and they're wrong, but they think that I did something upsets them, the first thing I do is give them the credit by the taking accountability. Like, I see you, right? I understand you're upset. I know that you're upset because I yelled at you, right? Or I disciplined you in that scenario. So I acknowledge their feelings. It gives them a place that, okay, now you know what? I don't have to defend myself. So I think framing is an extremely important communication skill.
Me too.
And you do it really, really well.
Thanks. I was with someone this week who was saying that for communication, I forget the numbers he said, but call it 60% body language, 30% tone, and 10% what you're actually saying. So he was saying that when he needs to have a conversation for real to either connect with someone in a meaningful way or to get something from someone that's a tough ask, in person. He's like, I do it in person. He's like, I can, so if someone asks him also for a favor, they're like, will you please call this person? I know you know them. He goes, I can call them, but they're going to say no. I can go see them, and there's a chance of saying yes. Right. And is it worth me going to see them? How important is it to you that I do this for you and all that? And I thought that was pretty cool. The one other thing that I think is so critical is it just has to be genuine. I think what people mess up all the time, I think one of the reasons that I am good with relationships is that I really do enjoy people, and you don't need to love everything about the person. I got a best friend. I don't need anybody picking me up at the airport. I don't need someone who checks every box of what it means to me to be a great friend to me. If someone is, super smart and thoughtful and just, I'm intellectually curious about, I'm going to talk to them about stuff that I find stimulating that they really like talking about, or whatever it is. But if you go outside of that and you give a false compliment to something that you don't 100% feel, the other person knows it, and it is the opposite effect. You go further apart because they know it's disingenuous.
Right.
Like everyone knows the compliment sandwich where you're like, John, your ball is great. You missed a few layups recently. your outside shot's awesome, right? So, if you when you do those things, if you say, hey, I'm going to make sure that I interlace compliments while I'm being harsh on someone, critiquing something, again, that's to their benefit, then that's good. But if you say, hey, I'm going to do a compliment sandwich, and there was no reason to say the second part, the outside shot's not that good or whatever it is, if you do something like that, it's just going to make the conversation worse.
I agree. I like the term compliment sandwich. And for the record, if I missed layups, I was definitely fouled. Definitely fouled. Okay. All right. So listen, I have a question. Is there any moment in life that you would change?
Something came up recently, just in terms of the evolution of my career, where I've had to deal with some stuff that has been annoying and upsetting. But here's a great way to say it. The coach of the Boston Celtics was hearing about Jason Tatum, and they were saying, Tatum, it's so hard. He's got to deal with all these reporters really grilling him. He goes, not got to, gets to. He goes, Jason Tatum is trying to be one of the best basketball players in the world. Part of that is you're going to be scrutinized by the press. He wants this. That's what he's worked all this time for. So that's sort of how I feel, is even the things that are suboptimal looking in are part of the overall package, which, I'm very deeply thankful for. So I think regret's a wasted emotion. I really just try to move forward.
I got to tell you, man, I completely agree. All right, the gratitude is where you start. All right, you're grateful for the bad moments, you're grateful for the good moments, because that's what makes the moment today we're sitting at happen.
I will say, so I have this thing I like to do called followupthen.com, so I can just send myself notes in the future, like every month at followupthen.com or every year, whatever. So whenever there were good moments, I would shoot that out so that it would return to me. And I thought that you have to taste the sour to appreciate the sweet. And when there were bad moments too, throughout the years, I would send those so I could remember, oh man, I was in this spot. It was really hard. Thank God I'm not in that spot anymore. And then it was one of my brothers who was like, that's ridiculous. You're out of that spot. You feel good. Don't remember something that makes you feel bad. So over the years, as those have come in, I've started to delete them. And I think that was a good move. So the whole taste the sour to appreciate the sweet, at least for me now, I'm like, nah, I'd really rather not relive certain things.
Listen, in life, our palates actually change, right? Like the taste buds change, the palates change, and that's a great way to take it. Like those negative things happened, I respect them, but I don't need to relive them anymore because they're not where I am. I've overcome those moments. Right. All right, so I asked all the guests at the end the same question. What is your favorite quote?
It's funny, I actually save a lot of quotes. I have a whole folder.
I can imagine you do, buddy. I can imagine you do.
And now on the spot, I have one that's on my Instagram handle that I like from Dr. Seuss, which says, be who you are and say what you feel, because those who mind don't matter and those who matter don't mind. And I really like that, where it's like, hey, the people that know me, know what my intent is, I can say anything to them because they know that I, have their interests in mind, and I'm not trying to do anything that's going to hurt anybody. If some random person misconstrues something, that's not on me.
Those who mind don't matter, and those who matter don't mind. So the one word I take away from that is vulnerability. All right, and vulnerability equals power. Another quote that I love. But vulnerability is extremely hard to do, especially for men. I think we're taught to be strong, tough, and somehow find some sensitive way in the future. But if you don't believe vulnerability equals power, and you want an example of that, you should watch the movie 8 Mile, right? And just watch or just YouTube. As Ben would say, he's very busy these days, so he likes things in like short clips and cuts. That's why he loves AI so much. So just go to YouTube, watch the last 3 rap battles with Eminem versus Papa Doc. Papa Doc was the last one. Claudio, he was the last one. Who was the first one, though? He was the skinny guy, the first one. What was the name of the first guy?
Lotto.
Lotto was the second one. Lotto was the second one, okay? Talk about the T-shirt "Don't Fit You" lotto. I can get the digits for your mother for $1 tomorrow, right?
I actually, just one thing, I have pitches for what I do for work, trying to win business, and often the question is, do we want to go first or do we want to go second? And do you want last licks or do you want to go first? And what I always say to people, I go, let's talk about 8 Mile. I go, first 2 rap battles, the other people go, they seem good, he comes back in, annihilates them, right? But the last one, the final scene, he goes first, he sets the tone for what the other person's going to say, and then when they pass the mic around, the other person has nothing to say. So sometimes you have to think about each situation specifically, but it's funny that in my head, 8 Mile means, think strategically about what the order is of the pitch.
Sure, and I take that to your point, like, okay, he does the first 2, and the last one, the reason I brought it up, because he talks about vulnerability. And in the vulnerability pitch, he basically tells everybody everything that the guy's gonna say against him, and he ends that with, here, take the mic, now tell these people something they don't know about me.
Yeah.
And straight vulnerability, he sucked the power away from the Papa Doc, the actor, right? Couldn't say a word, owned the crowd. And that's where, like, your quote of, look, the people who matter in your life don't mind who you are. So if they mind who you are, then you have to think about, should they be there?
Yeah.
Should they be in that circle that I have? Because you should always, and I think it's very difficult for men particularly, you should always be who you are, wherever you are, with whomever you are. And if you can't, then surround yourself with different people.
Yeah, my daughter was telling me about a podcast. I forget which one, but it was some woman about talking how to make friends, and that early in life making friends is so easy. You're doing group activity. So it's easy. But then later, now everything is sort of like an effort thing to, stay engaged with that person that you enjoy or something like that, and that it's just a different skill set and something that men need to be more like, hey, I want to be friends with you. I meet people all the time. Last night was actually my best friend. I've had the same best friend my whole life. It was his 50th birthday party. And I was just texting with someone this morning who I'd met in the last year, who I really enjoy. And I was texting with him saying, isn't it amazing life how I have a best friend, and the length of the relationship is one of the things that makes it so special. And then, not as a counter to that at all, and also my new friendship with this other guy just really invigorates me and brings me joy. And I just want to hone in on all those things.
Listen, as a single dad, 47 years old, I totally understand and resonate with that statement, because not only am I making new friends at this point in the dating life, and some women that are great, you have some dates with, and some you just know immediately, like, hey, I love your vibe and energy, right? I don't even want to go down this path of dating. We both know that it's not there. Let's just be friends.
Yeah.
And that's again, at 47, it's difficult, right? Because you have your core friends when you're younger, and then meeting new people.
Yeah.
And I will say a testament to anyone watching and listening that basketball has been one of the greatest ways to generate friendships, because you're on the court, you're playing together, you need each other. I played all different sports throughout my life, and there's a lot of individuality in the sport. And in basketball, yeah, you have individual moments, but if you're not back on defense, or you're out of play, or as you know, you're covering the wrong person, or you're shooting threes when you should be down at the block. Yeah. Okay, we'll name no one here in that scenario.
You know who you are if you're watching.
Yeah, exactly. But it's that team sport.
The team sports thing is amazing. First of all, I would say as the sort of steward and organizer of the game, one thing I think about is tying it all the way back to the beginning of our conversation, is shutting off the monkey mind after having a rough day at work, or we're just all wound up. It's hard for me, and I think a lot of the other type A people in the game, to shut your brain off. And I found the only 2 ways that I'm able to shut my brain off are basketball and massages, right? Where I'm falling asleep, I'm totally relaxed, and both of those things really rejuvenate me in a way that nothing else does, just because my mind is taking a break for a little while. So I know whenever someone can't play, as you know well, we cap the game, but somehow yet you've always been in all the games, John. But I know it is. The game is capped, and I feel terrible when someone can't get in because I know what it means to be in and what it means to that person. And the relationships that everyone's formed. So tomorrow's Father's Day. I'm sure John I say he'll update you if he wins. We'll see if he updates you if he loses. But he has won the last two with his friend and running mate on this, Greg Levin. And, just the relationships. Everyone always comes back and says to me, and it's very gratifying about how of all these different ways that people are connected, that the hoops thing is just really a respite from it all. And we've curated a game where everyone's competing hard and nice. And I had a very famous, well-known, a famous hedge fund client, and he said, usually a killer and a nice guy, those character traits are not found in the same person, but when you can find them, they're the best. And I feel like we've found a bunch of those, and we all enjoy really going at it. I love competing with you. I hate the way your eyes light up when I get switched on to you at the three-point line. John's like, looks giddy about it. And, I just picture in my own head Kevin Love guarding Steph Curry successfully at that one end of the Cleveland Golden State series to sort of psych myself into it. But we're going at it. We're going at it hard. But, there's like nothing you could ever do that would set me off because I know your intent is so good.
Right, and I feel the same way. First, you honor me a lot about playing basketball on that side of it. Always being in the game is because I'm the algorithm master, just for those who didn't know, right? You can try to find who invented Bitcoin, maybe, but the algorithm master comes from here. So, no, but to just stay on that topic a little bit, there are killers in our game. And I love it. I love it because once you step over the line on that court, some stay killers, and okay, they have their thing and whatever, but those of us who can be the killer in the game, and once you step over that line, you're just a regular guy having a conversation, having a cup of coffee, one you can count on, right? I think I pride myself on always showing up. All right, the one thing I would love for people to say about me when I'm gone is like, hey, this guy always showed up. I called him, he showed up, right? I needed him, he showed up. And I think for you, you're very similar in that way. Like, you're a busy man, you got a lot going on, but if I ever needed something and I called you, you always show up for me, and for that, I'm extremely grateful.
You got it. I think a big thing is as the maker of the teams too, and trying to figure out sort of like who's an A, who's an A plus, is like making it all work, getting the teams to work. The difference between the good players and the really good players are the really good players show up every time. There's other people that come in and out and play well and then don't play well, but the players that we know that are the best in the game, they rarely have off nights, right? Yeah. And I think about that a lot, and I think consistency is a superpower, and if you can do that, 1% better mindset and just, I love all this stuff. It gets me so fired up. I saw something online where someone said, you didn't feel well in the morning, like, did you work out? He goes, how I feel has nothing to do with what I do, right? So when someone else says, and who knows, maybe people's bodies are different and it's easier for me, but the idea of me getting up and not doing what I'm supposed to do, like, it doesn't cross my mind whether I'm tired or not feeling well or any of that stuff. Like, I've got stuff to do that I'm going to do. So I think that it's an advantage that my brain just isn't expending any energy on the thought of how do I feel relative to what I'm doing. It's just, have that thought, it enters, it's now out of my head, now what am I going to do?
Yeah, because you're a man that needs to get shit done.
I do.
So if anybody wants to reach out to you or find you, where can they do that?
If anyone has some questions about real estate or anything like that, my gig, I'm Ben at CBRE.com, which we have 170,000 global employees, so I'm proud of getting the Ben. in there. That was a big day for me. It's right in my email signature. Trying to think if there's other ways, just in general, of having outreach. I'll have ideas here and there about things to put out there, sort of into the world. My oldest daughter, is a junior going into her senior year, so the amount of calls I had with friends and friends of mine and their kids about career stuff was just off the charts. So what I found was when I was talking to them, it was actually less about real estate advice. It was more career advice as someone who's just, tries to be observant of the world and in the business world for 25 years. So my daughter said, you should write some Substack posts about how to find your place in the business world. So I'm proud of those. She wants me to write more. I feel like I've said all I have to say. I don't know if I have any more words of wisdom there, but I had 4 posts that I thought were pretty solid. So just look for Ben Friedland. There are a few other Ben Friedlands in the world. One of them actually started interning at CBRE this summer, which is very confusing for everybody. Ben Friedland 1 at CBRE.com is what
I think he should be called Benjamin. He should be Benjamin at CBRE.com.
I don't think we should have hired him, but no, he's a good kid. I know his family. There's no relation, but it's funny. People are reaching out to me. They're like, it says your name and that you're an intern. Yeah,
that's hilarious. Well, listen, we will make sure that all Ben's contact information that he gives us is listed below. We'll set him up with a nice text messaging. I got a gift for you. We'll do it where it's text Friedland. And again, you'll have that all below this podcast. So you can see that and see all Ben's works, his Substacks and things of that nature. You can reach out to. I want to thank you guys for watching the Relive the Moments podcast, listening to Relive the Moments podcast on all the places you can, Apple, Spotify, our website, relivethemoments.com. And please like and subscribe. Remember, sharing is caring, and share this with everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it, man.